Warning: I'm going to be using scanlations of Chapter 62 of Moriarty the Patriot in order to illustrate my points. I highly advise reading the chapter before watching this video. I think William Moriarty from the anime is actually an ENTJ. What demonstrates this to me the most is Chapter 62. A sorrowful confession. William, I am a man who can do nothing if you're not here. We begin with an opening scene in which Albert confesses that he can do nothing without William there. Though I admit I have not much knowledge of a social INTJ and how they would behave, I have met an ENTJ and had time to examine the types of relationships that they have. A lot of close ENTJ relationships that ENTJs have with select people they pick to be close to sounds exactly like what Albert is displaying. The ENTJ establishes himself as an irreplaceable force, often making someone else rely on him due to himself being the most stable and efficient person in the person's life. Albert feels lost without William because he needs the man in his life to the point that depression sets in when they are gone. He has lost the direction that the ENTJ supplied. I cannot picture an INTJ, as social as they are, working so hard at making sure that someone else needs them to the extent that an ENTJ would towards very select close friends. It can be said of the ENTJ that if you can stomach their ruthless ways, they are the best ally you could ever have by your side. They are the type to stand by you when the world turns against you. You say that you have involved me, but all of this was my own wish. Long before I met you, I already had a plan of my own, and I was going to carry it out, even if you did not ask me to. And yet you have sworn. In this page, William admits that he had already had a plan of his own before he met Albert, and that he revised this plan when Albert joined. It is said that the INTJ's plans reach farther than the ENTJ, but the ENTJ can still accomplish a lot simply by adapting to changes and somewhat going with the flow. In that way, their master plan can change a little to accommodate difficulties with a smoothness that makes it even more effective. In the end, the ENTJ can appear like a mastermind because he anticipated all the complications. But an ENTJ who anticipates will also easily adapt to unforeseen changes without pause or hesitation. When Sherlock killed Milverton, for example, William worked overtime on a change to his plans to incorporate the fact that he had miscalculated when he thought that Sherlock's greatest barrier was to kill someone. rather, it was my weakness that causes you much pain to this day. During the time I was in despair, I wanted to let only you alone know my suffering. On page 12, William further admits that when he was showing his greatest despair, he only wanted Albert to be the one to see it. ENTJs are very private with their feelings, and in a way, they are really, really painfully shy about showing them to anyone. Since ENTJs' Fi functions of inferior feelings are not as well developed, they behave in a manner that is kind of childlike when it comes to feelings. I admit I don't particularly know an INTJ in despair to understand how they typically deal with it, but from what I've seen in YouTube explanation videos, INTJs tend to go into their own mind and handle things internally instead of relying helplessly on another person. You are always there to encourage me. You are not alone. I am here with you. Your kindness has truly saved me many times. When William talks about how Albert reminded him that he is not alone, and how that kind gesture saved him many times, it reminded me of a quirk of the ENTJ in that they tend to dislike being alone. An INTJ may handle being alone a lot better, but an ENTJ needs people to be on his side. For William, being alone could mean that there is no one willing to shoulder his sins with him, but for other ENTJs, it could mean not having someone who can match your intellect, who can understand you deeper than anyone else. ENTJs are very different from others, and often bear the burden bravely without complaint, but if they had to be honest, they would dislike being alone. If they were to experience anxiety, the perception of being alone is one reason for this. I wanted to escape the misery of killing many. Before long, I began to put my death above all else. You, Lewis, and our comrades, we carry these sins together, yet I honored that and clung to my own ego. I ignored that and clung to my own ego. What I did was very selfish. Death is not atonement. I can now truly say that. In this part, William explains that he made a mistake when seeking his own death, and revealed that his guilt of killing many others had caused him to seek this. ENTJs are not good with their emotions, and often give into it due to this. The emotions are something they have a hard time controlling when it overcomes them, though it is not an often occurrence. Sometimes their logic is warped, and they may lose sight of what the best solution actually was. Here, William displays this rare emotion by leaning on his bigger brother, as if he is a weak younger one seeking comfort. It is an honest display of how he feels, and when an ENTJ does this, you know that he means it. The ENTJ is so deep into this relationship that he had already mentioned that Albert's kind gesture was the only thing sustaining him through all this. One thing about ENTJs is that they are not only smooth and charming, charismatic beyond belief, but that they are actually very cute when showing vulnerability. It is in a way that is not awkward at all, and can display his extroversion simply by how much this can charm the object of his affection. This is one of their rare moments which explains why ENTJs are not only usually found in tight-knit friend groups, but also fosters loyalty. When an ENTJ cares, he shares his feelings with you and gives it his all. In that way, you end up loving them because they end up meeting you so fiercely and naturally. An ENTJ carefully picks his friends and those he trusts like this because he needs to be able to count on the ones he trusts to catch him when he falls. If the ENTJ is mature, like William might be due to his intelligence, the bond he shares with Albert and his close ones is usually stronger than blood. I'm sorry I took so long to get here. I'm sorry, too, for having worried you, Will.